The sky above Jericho 4 was a shattered mirror, flashes of red and orange fireballs streaking across the dark void, stars swallowed beneath torrents of smoke. On the ground, the colony's sprawling metal corridors twisted in tangled ruin, the hum of distant machinery drowned out by alarms and screams. Captain Alina Serrano crouched behind a crumpled transport vehicle, her pulse hammering in her ears louder than the barrage of plasma bolts streaking past her helmet's visor. The alien warships, sleek, dark, and impossibly fast, had descended without warning. The Zerathi Dominion strike was brutal, their motive clear: annihilate the human foothold before Earth could react. Alina glanced back toward the wrecked habitat dome. Civilians ran, frozen or desperate, their faces illuminated by the hellfire raining down. Among them, a handful of Marines. Fought fiercely, no one was going to give up Jericho without a fight. Her squad moved as one, fluid and deadly. Sergeant Malik's voice crackled in her calm, harsh but steady. Serrano perimeters breached, were cut off from command. She swallowed hard. The colony's communication array was destroyed. There would be no reinforcements. This was their last stand. Hold position, she ordered, voice low but unwavering. We fight for every inch, no one falls back. The Zerathi infantry poured out of dropships like shadows given flesh. Tall, sinewy, with eyes that gleamed coldly beneath their helms. Their weapons hummed with an eerie blue energy, firing in sweeping arcs that tore through the colony's defenses. Alina gritted her teeth, firing a volley from her pulse rifle. The shots were slow compared to the alien tech. But humans had something the Dominion did not: sheer unpredictability. A sudden explosion rocked the transport vehicle. Serrano was thrown forward, scraping her palms raw against the scorched dirt. She pushed herself up just as Malik screamed in her ear. Contact, left flank 50 meters. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward the sound. She reached Malik and two others pinned down behind a shattered wall. Malik's face was grim. We're out of grenades. Alina scanned the battlefield. A ruined supply crate nearby. Improvised explosives, maybe if they could rig something fast enough. We make a run, she said, nodding sharply. Cover me. Malik shook his head. Are you crazy? That's a death sentence. No one else is coming. It's now or never. With a roar, Alina darted across the open ground, dodging bursts of alien fire. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burning metal. Behind her, human soldiers laid suppressing fire, buying precious seconds. She reached the crate, tearing it open. Inside, scraps of old tech and volatile chemicals. She rigged a makeshift bomb with trembling fingers, the seconds ticking like a bomb itself. Back at the wall, she lobbed the device into the advancing enemy ranks. The explosion was deafening, a burst of flame and shrapnel that sent bodies flying. The Zerathi faltered, regrouping with hissed commands. But victory was costly. Two of her squad were down, their lifeblood staining the alien soil. Move, Alina ordered. We retreat to the tunnels. The underground network had been hastily built for mining, but now it was their only chance. The Marines slipped into the dim, twisting corridors, the world above collapsing behind them. In the cold dark, Alina paused. Her breath fogged the air inside her helmet. She looked at her squad, exhausted, bloodied, but alive. This is just the beginning, she said quietly. They think they can crush us like bugs, but we bite back hard. Suddenly a soft click echoed down the tunnel. Serrano raised her rifle. Too late. A trap. A Zerathi sniper stepped from the shadows, weapon raised. Alina fired first. The sniper's helmet shattered and he crumpled. But more came rushing in, dozens, pressing tight. Her squad formed a tight circle, every shot precise, every move desperate. The underground battle was chaotic, brutal, close quarters, blood and steel. And through it all, the humans fought with a ferocity the Dominion hadn't expected. When the last alien fell, silence returned, heavy and haunting. Alina staggered forward, scanning the dark tunnels with burning eyes. She sent a calm burst, a message carved in grit and fire, not hope. Jericho 4 lost, but not defeated. Humans survive. We fight. Far beyond the shattered moon, across the cold depths of space, that message slipped through fractured networks and rogue frequencies. A legend had begun, In the dim glow of the galactic nexus station, Erythra, whispers, traveled faster than light. Holoscreens flickered in smoky lounges and crowded corridors, broadcasting fragments of intercepted Terran transmissions, snippets of Alina Serrano's defiant message from Jericho 4. Humans survive. We fight. The words spread like wildfire through the tangled web of alien networks, stirring unease and fascination. The Zirathi Dominion's High Council convened in their obsidian palace on the capital world, Narathis Prime. The air buzzed with tension. An empire built on millennia of control suddenly rattled by a species it had considered insignificant. Supreme Commander Valrix stared at the tactical display, fingers tapping a pulse on the crystalline console. The battle losses at Jericho 4 still burned, but what unnerved him most was the relentless defiance. These humans fought with an unpredictable savagery that defied every calculated measure. "They're no mere rebels," Valrix muttered. "They fight like predators cornered, and worse, they inspire others." Across the council chamber, Ambassador Kairos frowned. "The minor species on the fringe are whispering alliances. Some even secretly supply humans. Our intelligence reports factions like the Relax Scavengers acting against our interests." Valrix's eyes narrowed. "This is not just a colony lost. It's a spark. If the flames spread, the Dominion could unravel." Meanwhile, deep within, the neutral sector on the station Erythra, Captain Alina Serrano sat cloaked beneath a hood in a dimly lit bar. She was far from the scorched battlefields of Jericho 4, but the war was never far from her mind. Around her, alien patrons whispered in unfamiliar tongues, eyes darting toward her with suspicion and curiosity. An informant approached, an enigmatic figure wrapped in layers of shifting shadows. He moved with practiced stealth, sliding a small, oblong device onto the table. "Terran," he said in heavily accented basic, voice low and urgent. "The war is bigger than you know." Alina's gaze locked onto the device. It pulsed faintly. An alien artifact, ancient and powerful, encoded with data on Zirathi weaknesses. "Why help us?" she asked, fingers tightening around her rifle's grip under the table. The figure smiled, a glimpse of teeth sharp as knives. "Because your fire threatens a greater darkness, and some of us want to see that darkness burn." Before she could reply, a sharp crack sounded. Blaster fire. Chaos erupted. The bar's ceiling panels exploded as gunfire rained down, patrons screaming and diving for cover. "Ambush!" Alina roared, pulling the informant down behind a shattered console. The attackers were Zirathi assassins, their armor gleaming in the low light. Serrano's squad was not here, but the instincts that had kept her alive on Jericho 4 kicked in. She rolled forward, firing a controlled burst. An assassin staggered back, dropping a grenade at her feet. Without hesitation, Alina hurled it back, watching as it detonated, sending shrapnel and sparks flying. The informant disappeared into the chaos, leaving Alina alone with a growing crowd of enemies. She fought her way through twisting corridors, heart pounding, until she found refuge in an empty maintenance shaft. Her comm crackled, an encrypted signal from Earth Command. "Captain Serrano, status?" "Compromised," she breathed. "Zirathi ambush. Artifact secure, but no support. Extraction inbound in 10. Hold tight." Alina exhaled, wiping sweat from her brow. The galaxy was watching, and now she was a hunted spark in a firestorm. Back on Narathis Prime, Supreme Commander Valrix sat alone in a shadowed chamber, eyes fixed on a rotating hologram of the Terran homeworld. The humans were rising fast, adapting, learning, and turning alien technology against the Dominion. The galaxy's strongest empire was being challenged by a species barely a century into the stars. His voice was cold and resolute. "We will crush the Terran flame before it ignites the galaxy. Prepare the next strike. No mercy." But even as orders were given in distant systems beyond Zirathi control, the galaxy's minor powers whispered a new truth. Humanity is not just surviving. Humanity is fighting back, and the stars will never be the same. Earth was no longer the peaceful cradle of humanity. The planet's cities, once centers of culture and progress, had transformed into towering fortresses of steel and fire. From the ashes of Jericho 4, a new determination blazed through humanity's veins. This war would be their crucible, and they would emerge unbreakable. In the sprawling orbital shipyards of New Pacifica Station, engineers and soldiers labored around the clock. The hum of fusion reactors mixed with the clanging of machinery as massive hulls of warships took shape. Earth's industries had fused with alien salvage, blending humanity's stubborn grit with Zirathi technology. It was a wild experiment, human minds pushing against the limits of known science, fueled by desperation and defiance. Admiral Mason Virek stood on the observation deck, arms crossed, eyes scanning the launching bay where the Leviathan, humanity's first AI-assisted battlecruiser, was being prepped. Sleek, formidable, and unlike anything the galaxy had seen, the ship embodied humanity's new hope. "Captain Serrano," Virek's voice crackled over comm. "Your reputation precedes you. The Council demands you join the vanguard. Lead a strike force that will show the Dominion we are not the prey, but the hunters." Alina tightened her grip on her pulse rifle, her mind still shadowed by Jericho's carnage. "I'll bring hell to them, Admiral, that's a promise." In a hidden data hub beneath Earth's surface, a young hacker named Kai adjusted his neural interface, fingers flying across the holographic console. His eyes glowed faintly, under the blue light as he tapped into Dominion encrypted networks. Kai was different from the hardened soldiers on the front lines. A prodigy, born in a cramped slum on Terra's eastern wards, he had a gift for slipping past digital defenses and uncovering secrets no one wanted found. Tonight, his breakthrough came, buried deep in the Dominion's command grid, a vulnerability, a flaw in their AI communication relay, that could sever their fleet's coordination. "Gotcha," Kai whispered, heart racing. His fingers danced, injecting a virus designed not to destroy but to disrupt, causing confusion and delays in enemy operations. It was a gamble. If discovered, the Dominion's retribution would be merciless. Meanwhile, Captain Serrano led her squad through a dimly lit hangar on the frontier moon Vex 9, a forgotten relic now repurposed as a staging ground. The air was thick with recycled oxygen and anticipation. "We're not just fighting to survive anymore," she told her team, her voice firm, eyes blazing. "We strike at the heart of the Dominion's power. We cut their wings before they can fly." Their mission: infiltrate a heavily guarded Zirathi shipyard orbiting the shattered gas giant Yarix and plant Kai's virus into their systems. Success would cripple Dominion fleet operations for weeks, enough time for Earth's new fleet to mobilize. The squad moved like shadows, using stolen alien gear and human ingenuity to bypass security. Every step was a risk. Every corner could hide death. Suddenly, alarms blared. A silent drone triggered their presence. The Zirathi were quick to respond, swarming the corridors with patrols. "Contact front," Serrano snapped. "Hold your ground." Pulse rifles flared in bursts of blue and orange. Serrano's squad fought fiercely, weaving through laser fire and grappling with towering alien soldiers. Every loss was felt, a comrade down, a brother or sister lost to the void, but they pressed on. Reaching the central control node, Serrano's tech specialist, Ensign Miko, connected the virus payload. Fingers trembling, Miko bypassed security protocols as the virus infiltrated the Dominion systems. "Payload deployed," Miko whispered, sweat trickling down his temple. Suddenly, the shipyard's alarms shifted from red to chaos. Lights flickered as Dominion ships scrambled to respond. The squad raced back to their extraction point, dodging reinforcements pouring through bulkheads. Outside, the stolen dropship roared to life. Serrano's heart pounded as the engines flared. The Dominion was blind and chaotic, just as Kai predicted. Back on New Pacifica Station, Admiral Virek monitored the operation's success with a grim smile. The Dominion fleet's movements faltered, and Earth's new ships readied for war. "Humanity's fire has forged a new weapon," he muttered, eyes fixed on the holographic star map. "Now, we strike back." As the dropship sped away from The exploding shipyard, Serrano looked to her squad, wounded but undefeated. The war was far from over, but for the first time the galaxy's most powerful empire felt something new. Fear. Humanity was no longer a cornered prey. They were the hunters. Void Glass was a fortress carved from the jagged remnants of an ancient asteroid belt, a vital Dominion supply hub and staging ground for their expanding campaigns. Its twisted spires and labyrinthine tunnels were the stuff of nightmares for any invader. And now, it was humanity's target. Captain Alina Serrano stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned battlecruiser Leviathan, her eyes fixed on the swirling maelstrom of debris and fire that was the Void Glass orbit. Beside her, Admiral Mason Virek issued orders with cold precision. Intel confirms a fully operational shipyard and multiple command vessels anchored within, Virek said. Destroying them will cripple Dominion reinforcements for months. This is our chance. Alina nodded, her jaw tight. The last months had forged humanity into something new, something the galaxy hadn't seen before. Unpredictable, relentless, and dangerous. The battle began with a furious barrage from human, heavy cannons tearing through Dominion shields like a hot knife through frozen gel. The sky exploded with plasma storms and shards of debris as Void Glass's defenses fought back fiercely. Below, Serrano's squad was deployed in zero-gravity dropships to execute the most daring part of the assault, a boarding operation on the Dominion flagship Obsidian Vale. The dropship sliced through the void, magnetic clamps locking onto the flagship's hull. Alina's squad poured into the corridors, pulse rifles ready, hearts pounding in unison. Void Glass's interior was a maze of cold steel and harsh light, punctuated by the distant echoes of alarms and hurried footsteps. The Dominion soldiers, fierce and disciplined, awaited. "Stick to the plan," Serrano whispered. "Disable their weapons control, then extract." The squad moved with lethal precision, slipping through shadowed maintenance tunnels and storming gun decks. The battle inside was brutal. Hand-to-hand fights in zero gravity, blaster bolts ricocheting off reinforced walls, the clash of desperate survival. Sergeant Malik covered the rear, taking down 2 Zerathi soldiers before a third lunged with a vibroblade. Malik caught it mid-swing, snapping the attacker's wrist and driving his combat knife through the alien's armor plate. Blood hissed as it met the cold steel. Alina reached the weapons control room, hacking the alien interface with borrowed technology and sheer will. The systems flickered and died. "Weapons offline," she reported, voice steady despite the chaos. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the deck. The Dominion was not surrendering. The squad raced back toward their extraction point, pursued by reinforcements. In the narrow corridors, every corner was a death trap. Alina's helmet cam flickered with static as plasma fire lit the darkness. She ducked a lethal blast, returning fire with savage accuracy. "Extraction delayed," came the voice of the dropship pilot over comm. "Hang tight, reinforcements incoming." The squad dug in, forming a tight perimeter inside a maintenance bay. They knew the odds were grim, but surrender was not an option. Minutes felt like hours as Dominion forces battered the barricades. Then, with a deafening roar, the Leviathan unleashed a barrage that shattered Void Glass's outer defenses, drawing enemy fire away from the trapped squad. Dropships swooped in, guns blazing, securing the extraction. Alina's squad sprinted to the ramp, clutching wounded comrades. As they boarded, she glanced back at the burning fortress, the price of victory. Back on the bridge of the Leviathan, Admiral Virek studied the battle's aftermath with grim satisfaction. "Humanity has struck a decisive blow," he said, "but the Dominion will respond with fury." Alina wiped soot from her face, breathing hard. "They underestimated us. That's their mistake." Virek's eyes narrowed. "And our advantage." In the dark corridors of Void Glass, among the ruins and fallen soldiers, a figure watched, silent, calculating. The Zerathi commander's voice was a whisper in the void. "They fight like demons. This war will demand everything." As the Leviathan and its fleet withdrew, battered but victorious, humanity's legend spread farther through the galaxy. From the ashes of Jericho 4 to the siege of Void Glass, The Terran name whispered with fear, respect, and something new. Hope. The sprawling council chamber on Erythra Station buzzed with uneasy energy. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the grand hall, their diverse forms and voices clashing in a cacophony of mistrust. At the heart of this uneasy gathering stood Captain Alina Serrano, human, scarred by battle, and now an unlikely symbol of a desperate hope. Humanity's fight against the Dominion has changed the balance of power, she declared, voice steady, eyes sweeping the assembly. But if we face the Dominion alone, we fall one by one. Together, we might survive. Whispers erupted. Many species bore fresh wounds from the Dominion's expansion. Others feared human aggression. Some saw the Terrans as saviors. Others, as dangerous wildcards. Ambassador Kairos of the Relic clan stepped forward, claws tapping against the polished dais. Trust is a scarce commodity. The humans are fierce, but unpredictable. Can we rely on them? Alina met his gaze without flinching. You don't have to trust me. You just have to trust the threat we all face. Backstage, a figure in dark robes watched the proceedings from shadowed alcoves. Velka, a human-born operative and secret saboteur within the fledgling coalition. Her eyes gleamed with cold calculation. For Velka, the coalition was a tool, one she intended to control or destroy. The Dominion's enemies were not her concern. Power was. The Council voted, narrowly approving the formation of the first interspecies vanguard, a joint force combining human technology, Raylock guerrillas, and mercenaries from other minor factions. Serrano was named commander. The announcement sparked both hope and fury. For the first time, the galaxy's scattered resistance had a face, a force strong enough to challenge Dominion rule. Serrano returned to her quarters aboard the flagship Resolute, exhaustion weighing heavy. Her mind raced not with victory but with doubts. Could fractured races truly unite? Could humans be trusted not to consume everything in their path? Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Vesh, a grizzled Raylock warrior, approached. His reptilian eyes held a fierce respect. We fight together because we must, but alliances are fragile. Watch your back, Captain. She nodded, appreciating the warning. And what of Velka? Vesh's expression darkened. She's dangerous. Watch her. Days later, in a hidden conference room, Velka met with shadowy figures, mercenaries, spies, and a Dominion sympathizer embedded deep within the vanguard. Our goal is chaos, she whispered. Let the alliance crumble from within. When they fight each other, the Dominion will reclaim what was lost. Meanwhile, on the warfront, Serrano's new command faced immediate challenges. Training alien troops in human tactics was complicated by language barriers and cultural friction. Yet as the first vanguard units drilled under her watchful eye, something remarkable happened. Small victories, born from combined skill and desperate determination. In a remote skirmish on the frontier, World Grindelth 4, human sharpshooters and Raylock guerrillas ambushed a Dominion convoy, destroying supplies and capturing prisoners. The battle was brutal but swift, a symbol of what the vanguard could achieve. That night, around a flickering campfire beneath twin moons, Serrano sat with Vesh and Kai, the hacker now embedded in the vanguard's intelligence unit. Kai poked at his portable console. The Dominion's communications are still vulnerable, but Velka's interference is growing. She's planting false intel, turning factions against each other. Serrano's jaw clenched. Then we root her out. Before she destroys everything we're building. Vesh nodded. Trust is earned in fire. We face not just an enemy outside, but one inside. Back on Erythra, the tension between Alliance members simmered. During a council meeting, accusations flew, blame for failed missions, mistrust over shared intelligence, and old grudges reignited. Serrano stood firm, her voice cutting through the storm. We fight for survival. If we tear ourselves apart now, we lose everything. Her words held weight, but the fractures remained deep. Late that evening, as the station's lights dimmed, Velka slipped into Serrano's quarters, weapon drawn. "I admire your fire, Captain," she said, voice icy. "But power is the only truth in this galaxy." Before Serrano could react, Velka's blade slashed. The fight was desperate and brutal, two warriors locked in a deadly dance of steel and will. In the end, Serrano's raw resolve overcame Velka's treachery, driving her away into the shadows. The battle for the Vanguard was only beginning. Trust was a weapon sharper than any blade, and in the crucible of fractured alliances, only the strongest would survive. The uneasy peace aboard the Vanguard flagship Resolute shattered in the dead of night. Captain Alina Serrano woke to the sharp echo of alarms ringing through the corridors. Red emergency lights bathed the ship in an ominous glow. Her instincts screamed something was very wrong. Rushing to the command deck, she found chaos. Communications were cut, navigation systems flickering, and the crew scrambling under frantic orders. Lieutenant Vesh appeared beside her, his scaled face grim. "Sabotage, Captain. Internal." Serrano's heart sank. Velka's shadow had grown longer than they knew. In the dim security chamber, surveillance footage revealed it all, a web of betrayals. Saboteurs masked in Vanguard uniforms slipped through corridors, planting explosives, severing power conduits, and hacking critical systems. Serrano's eyes narrowed as she recognized one figure, a trusted officer, Lieutenant Drax, human, charismatic but secretly loyal to Dominion sympathizers. "Betrayal cuts deeper than any blade," she whispered, gathering her remaining loyal officers. Meanwhile, Velka lurked in the underbelly of the ship, coordinating the assault with mercenaries and Dominion agents embedded within the crew. "We dismantle their strength from within," she hissed into a comm link. "No mercy. The Vanguard will fall." Serrano rallied what forces she could. "We hold the command deck at all costs," she commanded. "If we lose control, the Dominion fleet will crush us before we can react." As corridors exploded with firefights, Serrano's squad moved like shadows, cutting through traitors and mercenaries. Pulse rifles flared, echoing in the steel halls. Lieutenant Vesh fought beside her, claws flashing as he tore through enemies. "They think chaos will win, but we have something they don't: our will." Kai, deep in the intelligence core, worked feverishly to restore communications. "Saboteurs locked down the comm nodes," he reported breathlessly. "I'm tracing the source now." Sweat dripped down his brow as he cracked through layers of corrupted code. "Got it. Velka's central command." The battle escalated in the bowels of the Resolute. Serrano confronted Lieutenant Drax in the weapons control room, a fierce duel of skill and rage. "You think you fight for freedom?" Serrano spat, deflecting a blade strike. "You're a traitor to all you claim to protect," Drax snarled. "Freedom is a lie. Dominion rule is order. Your foolish alliances will destroy you." With a final, desperate lunge, Serrano disarmed him, pressing the barrel of her rifle to his temple. Order built on fear dies in fire. At the ship's core, Velka initiated the final phase of her plan, detonating charges to cripple the Vanguard's engines. Serrano and Vesh sprinted through collapsing corridors, racing against time. With seconds to spare, Serrano disabled the main detonator, buying precious moments. "We survived this," she vowed. "Not because of luck, but because we refused to die divided." Kai restored partial communications, sending a warning burst across the Vanguard fleet. Allied ships surged to their rescue, engaging Dominion cruisers drawn to the chaos. The battle outside raged as the Resolute stabilized, battered but unbroken. In the aftermath, Serrano stood before her shaken crew. "We have enemies without and within. But the Vanguard is more than a ship. It's a promise. A promise that humanity and its allies will fight, no matter the cost." Lieutenant Vesh stepped forward, voice low but fierce. "We will root out the shadows. Together." As Velka vanished into the depths of the galaxy, her threat lingered, a reminder that war was not only fought with weapons, but with trust and betrayal. The crucible of fire had tested the Vanguard, and only those with iron wills would survive the coming storm. The stars outside the Vanguard flagship Resolute burned cold and indifferent as the battered fleet limped toward the contested system of Calidus Prime, a strategic world rich in resources and ripe for Dominion conquest. The battle for Calidus was more than territorial. It was a test of the fragile alliance Serrano had forged. Captain Alina Serrano stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the holographic star map, pulsing with red and blue markers. Every blip was a life, every movement a gamble. Calidus holds the key, Admiral Virek said, voice tight with urgency. If the Dominion seizes it, our fractured coalition will shatter beyond repair. Alina's jaw tightened. Then we give them no quarter. The coalition forces were a volatile mix. Human battle cruisers, Relac guerrilla fighters, and mercenary frigates from lesser-known factions. Mutual suspicions simmered beneath the surface. Communication delays and conflicting tactics threatened to unravel the mission before the first shot was fired. In the war room, tensions flared. Relac Commander Vesh slammed a clawed fist on the table. Your human tactics are reckless. We need stealth and precision, not brute force. Human Captain Janessa Trellis retorted sharply. And your guerrilla warfare won't hold against Dominion heavy artillery. Alina stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. We fight together or we fail separately. This war isn't won by one style, it's won by unity. Meanwhile, deep in the planet's dense jungles, Relac scouts prepared ambushes. Human infantry trained alongside alien soldiers, bridging gaps with shared hardship and battle. Small acts of camaraderie, passing rations, shared stories beneath alien moons, wove fragile bonds. Kai sat hunched over his console in the Resolute's intelligence bay, decrypting Dominion transmissions. Calidus fleet movements indicate a trap, he warned. The Dominion expects us. They've set a kill zone. Alina absorbed the news, lips pressed thin. Then we lead them into a counter-trap. The battle erupted with sudden fury as Dominion cruisers emerged from Calidus's dark orbit, unleashing volleys of plasma and missiles. The Coalition's fleet surged forward, answering with concentrated fire. Serrano's voice cut through the chaos. Vanguard squads to boarding positions. We're taking the fight to them. In orbit, dropships screamed toward Dominion vessels. Serrano led the assault on the flagship Nightshade's Wrath, determined to dismantle enemy command. Inside, the corridors were a maze of shadows and death. Serrano's squad fought with desperate tenacity, reclaiming decks with pulse rifles and hard-won tactics. But the Dominion had one last gambit. A colossal dreadnought, the Eclipse, emerged from hyperspace, a nightmare of armor and firepower. Its arrival tipped the scales, threatening to crush the coalition. Admiral Virek's voice was grim. We can't win this with firepower alone. We need a miracle. On the bridge, Alina made a decision. Kai, can you breach their targeting matrix? I'm working on it, he replied, but I'll need a distraction. Serrano turned to Lieutenant Vesh. You and your Relac guerrillas can handle that. Hit them hard and fast. With a roar, Vesh led a daring assault on the dreadnought's vulnerable sensor arrays. Explosions rocked the ship, systems flickering. Kai's fingers flew across his console. Now! A cascade of data surged through the Dominion ship's systems, scrambling targeting computers and sowing chaos. The Nightshade's Wrath fired a decisive barrage, crippling the Eclipse's weapons. The tide turned. After hours of brutal combat, the Dominion fleet broke, retreating into the dark. The Coalition's battered ships regrouped, their victory hard-won and costly. Back aboard Resolute, Serrano addressed the fleet. This battle was more than a fight for a planet. It was a fight for trust, for unity, for survival. We bled together, we won together, and we will stand together no matter what comes next. In the shadows, Velka's smile was thin and dangerous. You may win battles, Captain, she murmured, to herself. But the war is far from over. The shattered stars over Calidus Prime bore witness to a dawn born of fire and sacrifice. The Dominion's retreat was not just a defeat, it was a fracture that rippled across the galaxy, shaking the foundations of an empire built on fear. Captain Alina Serrano stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, gazing out at the scarred battlefield below. The planet's surface, once lush and untamed, now bore the scars of war, craters smoking, cities aflame. But the fires spoke not just of destruction, but of resistance. Beside her, Admiral Mason Virek broke the silence. "You've done more than lead a fleet, Captain. You've given the galaxy a reason to hope." Serrano's eyes were steady. "We fought not just for survival, but for a future where humanity and its allies can stand as equals." In the aftermath, the first interspecies vanguard solidified into a beacon of unity. Former enemies forged treaties, shattered alliances mended in the crucible of shared struggle. Kai, now hailed as a hero for his digital sabotage and intelligence work, walked among the new coalition's soldiers, his quiet presence a reminder that even the smallest spark could ignite a revolution. But peace was fragile. In the deepest reaches of Dominion space, Velka's exile bred new plots. Her whispered threats carried like poison through shadow networks, promising that the fight was far from over. Yet humanity's legend had been written in the stars. On Earth, the great cities illuminated the night skies, reflecting a species transformed. From the ashes of Jericho 4's devastation to the siege of Voidglass and the battle for Kalidus, the Terran name echoed with respect, fear, and something greater, admiration. In a quiet hall beneath New Pacifica Station, Alina Serrano received the Galactic Unity Medal, the first ever awarded to a human. As she accepted the honor, her thoughts were not on glory but on the countless lives lost and the battles yet to come. A child beside her tugged at her sleeve, eyes wide with wonder. "Will we win the next war, Captain?" the child asked. Alina smiled gently. "We don't just win wars, we create legends, and legends inspire the future." Outside, the stars whispered humanity's name, no longer as the savage prey, but as a legend born from savage war. A legend that would shape the destiny of the galaxy.